Hello, my friends. Welcome to your gentle escape tonight. I'm Liam O'Connor, a storyteller from the Emerald Hills of Connemara, where the winds carry whispers of old tales. It's my joy to guide you into rest with stories woven from the quiet corners of the world. Tonight, we'll journey to a peaceful lakeside, where the stars reflect on still waters and a humble soul finds solace in the simplest of days. Let my voice be your companion as we drift together into calm. So, settle in, close your eyes, and allow me to bring you to this night's sleep story with warmth and ease. Now, my friends, let's settle into this moment together. Feel the gentle cradle of the bed beneath you, or the floor, or whatever holds you tonight. Notice how it supports you, steady and kind, like the ancient earth rising to meet your weight with a quiet strength. Beneath that, imagine the deep roots of the land stretching far below, a silent foundation woven through time, grounding you with its unshakable calm. As you rest here, see if you can let go of a little tension, just a breath's worth. Let your shoulders soften, your hands relax, your feet sink into stillness. Take a slow breath in, feeling the cool air fill your chest, and as you exhale, let that release flow through you like a gentle wave lapping the shore. Turn your attention inward now, to your body. Where might you still be holding on? Perhaps it's in your toes, curled from the day's quiet steps, or your legs resting but not yet fully at ease, carrying the faintest echo of your journey. Maybe it's in your back, where the day's weight lingers like a soft shadow, or around your eyes, where thoughts flicker like distant stars over a still lake. As you notice this, let it be enough to simply observe. No need to change it, just to see it with kindness. With each breath, feel unholding begin to ease, drifting away like leaves carried by a gentle current. Let it go now, soft and slow, as if the earth itself is drawing it away. You are safe here, wrapped in this quiet night. Let my voice be your guide, a soft thread leading you to peace, to places where the world is gentle and the stars shine just for you. Can you feel that safety? Can you trust it? Like the steady lapping of water against the shore, or the rustle of grass in the evening breeze from my Connemara hills. Perhaps a small spark of calm lights in your chest, growing with each moment as we move closer to rest. Breathe it in. Let it settle, warm and deep like the glow of a fire on a cool night. The day is behind you now, its hours fading like ripples on a lake at dusk, dissolving into the vastness of the night. Any thoughts that drift in, plans, worries, fleeting memories, see them as passing clouds, natural but not yours to hold. You don't need to chase them or hold them close. Let them float away, carried by the night's breeze, dissolving into the starlit sky. Imagine those thoughts as tiny boats on a quiet lake, drifting out of sight, leaving the water smooth and still once more. Let your mind grow quiet, like the surface of an untouched lake under starlight, reflecting only the peace above. This is your time, your sanctuary. Feel that truth sink into you, warm and deep, like the glow of a distant fire or the soft earth beneath your feet. The comfort of lying here, the simple joy of listening to a tale as the world hushes is yours to embrace. You deserve this peace, this gentle escape. Let it wrap around you now, a soft blanket of calm, as if the night itself is tucking you in with care. Begin to imagine that lake we'll visit tonight. its waters mirroring the stars above, its edges quiet and still, surrounded by the whisper of reeds and the faint scent of damp earth. Picture the water's surface, smooth as glass, reflecting the vast sky, each star a tiny light guiding you deeper into rest. Feel the coolness of the air near the lake, the gentle rustle of leaves as a soft breeze passes through, carrying away the last traces of the day. Let that image settle in your mind, a place of perfect peace where time slows and the world is kind. Your body is growing heavier now, sinking into this moment. Notice your breath, how it moves like the tide, slow, steady, natural. With each inhale, draw in a little more calm, like the fresh air off the water. With each exhale, release anything that doesn't serve you, letting it drift away like mist over the lake. Your shoulders might feel softer now, your arms resting fully, your legs heavy and still. Let that heaviness be a comfort, a sign that you're letting go, trusting the earth to hold you. The stars above that lake are watching over you, their light a gentle companion through the night. Imagine one star growing brighter, its glow calling you to rest. As we move deeper into this serene place, I'll count from 10 to 1. With each number, let yourself drift a little more, sinking into that tranquil lake of sleep. 10. Feel the support beneath you, the earth holding you steady, like the banks of the lake. 9. Let your shoulders drop, your breath slow, like the water's gentle flow. 8. Notice the quiet around you, the hush of the night. 7. Your arms grow heavy, your hands rest in peace. 6. Peace settles in your chest, warm and soft, like starlight. 5. Your legs relax, sinking deeper into stillness. 4. The stars begin to guide you, their light growing closer. 3. Your breath flows like water, smooth and easy. 2. Every muscle softens, melting into the night. 1. Completely letting go now, as I take you into tonight's sleep story. James woke to the first light of dawn, a pale, hesitant glow seeping through the thin curtains of his small lakeside cottage. The fabric hung unevenly, its edges frayed from years of gentle breezes, and the light it let through was soft, almost apologetic, as if unsure of its welcome. The air carried the faint scent of damp earth and the distant whisper of water lapping against the shore, a sound that had lulled him to sleep and now greeted him awake. A rhythm as old as the hills that cradled this quiet place. He lay still for a moment, the mattress beneath him sagging slightly with age, its springs creaking softly under his weight, a sound as familiar as his own breath. The blanket, faded to a pale grey, with patches worn thin, rested lightly over his shoulders, its weight a gentle reminder of mornings past, of hands that had once tucked it around him. He didn't rush to rise. There was no clock to dictate his day, no urgency to pull him from the warmth of his bed. Instead, he lingered, listening to the world outside where the lake murmured to itself, its voice a soft thread woven through the silence. The pillow beneath his head was flat, its cotton case cool against his cheek, and he turned his face toward the window, catching the faint outline of the glass through the curtain's weave. With a slow exhale, he swung his legs over the side, the wooden floor meeting his feet with a cool, smooth touch, its grain worn by decades of barefoot steps. He stood, his joints creaking faintly in echo of the floorboards, and shuffled toward the window. His slippers, once his wife's, now his, sliding softly across the wood. The glass was streaked with last night's rain, a delicate pattern of droplets frozen in their descent, and a faint mist hovered over the water, turning the lake into a mirror of soft greys and silvers. Beyond it, the trees stood silent sentinels, their leaves a mix of deep green and the first hints of autumn yellow, trembling faintly in the breeze that slipped through the open crack of the window. James pushed the pane wider, the hinges groaning with a sound like a tired sigh, and let the cool air brush his face, carrying the scent of moss and the earthy tang of wet soil. He stood there, hands resting on the sill, its paint chipped and rough under his fingers, watching a single duck glide across the lake. Its ripples spread outward in slow, widening circles, then faded into the stillness, leaving the water smooth once more, a canvas for the pale sky above. In the kitchen, he filled a kettle from the sink, the tap's trickle blending with the lake's murmur outside, a duet of water meeting water. The metal was cold against his palms as he set it on the stove, the click of the burner, a soft punctuation in the quiet, followed by the low hum of heat rising. He reached for a tin on the shelf, tea leaves he'd kept for years, their aroma faded but still a comfort, and spooned them into a pot with a care that bordered on ritual, his fingers trembling slightly with the weight of memory. The lid clinked as he set it down, a sound that echoed faintly in the small room, and he sat at the table, its wood scarred from decades of use, its surface marked with knots and rings he traced with an idle finger, lost in the texture, in the stories it held. The kettle whistled gently, a sound that didn't startle but invited, and he poured the water, the steam rising in lazy curls, warming the room with the scent of earth and leaves, a fragrance that mingled with the damp air from the window. He sipped his tea slowly, the cup warm in his hands, its heat seeping into his palms, the liquid mild and not strong, a taste he'd grown to love for its simplicity, for the way it asked nothing of him. The duck had vanished now, leaving the lake smooth once more, reflecting the pale sky where the first light was giving way to a clearer dawn. James set the cup down, its clink against the saucer soft as a whisper, and moved to the door, the floorboards creaking under his weight, a sound that felt like a conversation with the house itself. He stepped onto the porch, the boards weathered and grey, their edges curling slightly from the rain, and scattered a handful of crumbs from a tin he kept by the door. The birds came slowly, hopping across the grass, their wings rustling faintly, a sound like the turning of pages in an old book. He watched them, his breath sinking with the morning's quiet pulse, the cool air brushing his cheeks, the lake shimmering faintly in the corner of his eye. A sparrow landed closest, tilting its head as if to study him, and he smiled, a small, private thing before it flitted away. The day had begun, unhurried, a canvas of small moments stretching before him, each one a thread in the quiet tapestry of his life by the lake. By midday, the mist had lifted from the lake, leaving its surface a deep, reflective blue beneath a sky brushed with thin, wispy clouds that drifted lazily, as if unsure of their purpose. James stepped out onto the grass, the blades damp against his worn boots, their leather creased and softened by years of quiet walks. The garden stretched before him, a modest patch of earth he tended with a devotion that needed no words, a space where the world felt manageable, where the hours passed without demand. The soil was cool and moist under his fingers as he knelt, pulling a weed with a gentle tug, its roots giving way with a soft resistance, and he placed it aside, the motion deliberate, almost tender, as if thanking it for its brief life. Around him the flowers nodded in the faint breeze that carried the scent of wet grass and the earthy tang of turned soil. Marigolds bloomed in pale orange, their petals slightly curled at the edges, and daisies stood with simple white faces, their centres yellow like tiny suns. The colours were muted, steady, like the life he'd built here, a life of small, quiet victories. He reached for a watering can, its metal handle cool and slightly rusted, and filled it from a barrel that collected rain, the water sloshing gently as he carried it back. He poured it over the flowers, the trickle a soft rhythm against the leaves, pooling briefly in the dirt, before sinking in, nourishing the roots with a patience he admired. The sun climbed higher, its light filtering through the trees that lined the lake's edge, casting dappled shadows across the garden. James leaned back on a wooden bench, its paint peeling in soft flakes, the wood creaking faintly under his weight as he settled. He closed his eyes, letting the warmth touch his face, the rays a gentle caress against his weathered skin. The air hummed with the faint buzz of a bee drifting among the flowers, its wings a soft vibration that faded into the distance, and he didn't move to shoo it away. There was no hurry, no need to disturb the peace. His hands rested on his knees, rough from years of tending the soil, their lines deep as the furrows he'd made, and he listened to the world around him. The rustle of leaves overhead, the occasional splash of a fish breaking the lake's surface, the silence that held it all together like a thread. After a while he rose, brushing the dirt from his hands, the grains falling back to the earth with a whisper. He walked to the shed, its door groaning as he pushed it open, the hinges protesting with a sound like a tired sigh. Inside, tools hung with care, a rake with a splintered handle, a trowel with a blade worn thin, their surfaces smooth from use. He selected a small pair of shears, their metal cool against his palm, the edges sharpened by time, and moved to a rose bush near the path. Each snip was measured, the fallen petals drifting to the ground like tiny boats on a current. And he stepped back to survey his work, nodding faintly as if approving a job well done. The bush was neither grand nor wild, but it stood tall, a quiet testament to his care. He returned to the bench, carrying a glass of water this time, its surface rippling slightly as he set it down, the movement catching the light in a fleeting sparkle. The lake shimmered in the distance, its surface broken now by a pair of swans gliding side by side, their necks curved in a graceful arc, their white feathers a contrast to the dark water. James watched them, his breath slow and even, the glass untouched beside him, its condensation leaving a faint ring on the wood. The sun began its descent, painting the water with streaks of gold that danced across the surface. And he sat there, letting the afternoon unfold, a quiet companion to the lake's endless calm. A breeze stirred the leaves above, their rustle a soft lullaby, and he felt the day stretch out before him, unhurried, a space where time seemed to pause. The garden was alive with small sounds, the chirp of a cricket hidden in the grass, the distant call of a bird settling for the evening, the gentle creak of the bench as he shifted slightly. He picked up the glass at last, the water cool against his lips, and took a sip, the taste plain but refreshing, a mirror to the simplicity he cherished. The swans had moved on, leaving only a faint wake that smoothed out behind them, and the lake returned to its mirror-like state, reflecting the sky where the first stars were beginning to prick through the blue. James set the glass down, aligning it carefully with the bench's edge, and leaned back, his hands folding in his lap, the shears resting beside him. The afternoon was his, a quiet kingdom of soil and sky, and he reigned over it with nothing more than his presence, soft as the shadows lengthening across the grass. As evening fell, the lake darkened, its surface transforming into a deep, endless mirror that caught the first stars pricking through the twilight sky. James carried a chair to the water's edge, its wooden legs scraping faintly against the smooth stones. The sound, a soft echo in the quiet. He set it down with a gentle thud, the impact sending a small ripple across the shore, and lowered himself into it, the seat creaking under his weight, its cushions worn thin but still offering a familiar embrace. In his hands he held an old fishing rod, its line dangling idly in the water, not for catching but for the feel of it, the weight of the pole a comfort, a thread to the past when his wife sat beside him, her laughter a memory now folded into the night. The air grew cooler, carrying the scent of water and the faint rustle of reeds along the shore, their tips swaying in a breeze that whispered through the trees. He didn't cast the line far, just enough to let it rest, the bobber floating like a tiny beacon on the dark surface, its red tip barely visible in the fading light. The lake was still, save for the occasional ripple from a fish breaking the surface, a soft plop that dissolved into silence, leaving the water smooth once more. James sat with his hands resting on the rod, his fingers rough and steady, the wood worn smooth by years of the same grip, and he watched the sky unfold above him, a vast canopy of light emerging from the black. The stars multiplied, their twinkling a soft dance against the indigo expanse, each one a pinprick of hope, a quiet companion to his solitude. He tilted his head back, the chair's back cool against his neck, and let his eyes trace the constellations he'd learned as a boy. Orion's belt, the Dipper's curve, though their names slipped from his mind now, replaced by the simple beauty of their glow. The air carried a hint of autumn, a crispness that sharpened the scent of the lake, and he pulled his jacket closer, its wool scratched faintly against his chin, a texture he'd grown to love for its roughness. The rod remained still in his hands, the line untouched by fish, and that was fine. Its purpose was not to catch, but to hold, to anchor him in this moment. A loon called in the distance, its mournful cry echoing across the water, a sound that lingered before fading into the night, leaving a hush in its wake. James listened, his breath slowing to match the lake's rhythm, the rise and fall of his chest a mirror to the gentle waves lapping at the shore. The stars grew brighter as the darkness deepened, their light reflecting on the water, turning it into a second sky, a mirror world where he could lose himself. He shifted slightly, the chair creaking again, and reached for a thermos beside him, its metal cold under his fingers. He poured a trickle of tea, the steam rising in faint curls, warming his hands as he sipped, the taste mild and comforting, an echo of the morning's brew. The night stretched on, the lake a silent partner in his vigil, its surface unbroken save for the occasional ripple from a fish or the soft splash of a frog leaping near the reeds. James set the thermos down, the cap clicking softly against the metal, and leaned back, letting the rod rest across his lap. The stars seemed to pulse now, their light a gentle heartbeat in the sky, and he felt a warmth spread through him, not from the tea, but from the quiet, from the sense of being held by this place. His eyes grew heavy, the rod slipping slightly in his hands, and he didn't fight it. There was no need to stay alert, no task to complete. The night was his, a soft blanket woven from starlight and water. He thought of his wife then, her face a blur in his memory, her voice a whisper carried on the breeze, and he smiled. A small, private thing hidden in the shadows of the chair. The lake reflected her absence, its stillness a comfort, its vastness a reminder that she was part of this place too, her spirit woven into the reeds, the stars, the quiet. He closed his eyes, the rod now resting fully in his lap, its line drifting free, and let the sounds of the night take over. The distant hoot of an owl, the soft rustle of leaves, the gentle lap of water against the shore. The stars watched over him, their light a lullaby, and he drifted, his breath slowing, his body sinking into the chair, into the night, into sleep. The lake remained still, its surface a perfect mirror, the stars above and below blending into one endless sky. James slept, his head tilted back, the chair creaking faintly with each breath, a sound that merged with the night's rhythm. The rod lay forgotten, its lines swaying gently in the water, and the world around him hushed, as if honouring his rest. The stars burned on, their light a soft glow that wrapped him in peace, and the lake held him, a cradle of water and sky, carrying him deeper into dreams where the days were simple, the nights eternal, and the quiet was all he needed.